When Chad and I started discussing what to do for this week's program, we wanted to do something that was going to be beneficial to all of us as Rotarians and to bring us together as a community. One of the very first things I thought of was asking Cynthia Latham. She's with the Evergreen Rotary, and she herself individually is a financial or marketing expert, rather, with a lot of experience, decades of experience is what her CV says. In this instance, the most important thing I can say is that she developed an amazing program with Evergreen Rotary called Rotary Wildfire Ready. And it is not just a program that we hear about, like getting a go bag together or making sure you know your exit from whatever place you happen to be in if there's a fire. Her program brings city leaders together, Rotarians, um, firefighter professionals, every type of system type of learning that you can think of, Cynthia has put into this program. She's built a tremendous database of information. On your tables, there is a resource page. The Rotary Wildfire Ready website is on that, but I'd love for her to talk to you about this program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cassidy, and thank you guys for having me. I know everybody's in shock from what just happened on New Year's in Boulder, Superior, and Louisville. I have a sister that lives in Superior. She had to evacuate and stayed with us with all of her animals and things during the fire. It was so traumatizing to her because she kept going, it shouldn't have ever happened here. I live in the suburbs. This never ever should have happened. And I want to talk about that with you today. Is it okay if I share my screen, Cassidy? Can I go ahead and put my presentation up?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, we'll do that right now. So we have a new reality in Colorado that is pretty frightening. And I just kind of want to go through the bit of a timeline and share with you. As you guys all know, the fire happened on New Year's. 991 structures were affected in Louisville. It was 553, Superior 332, and unincorporated Boulder had about 106 buildings destroyed. The fire was first reported at 11 a.m. In a little over an hour, the fire was in Louisville. So that fire moved really, really fast because of the extreme winds that were happening. This is a picture, before and after picture of exactly the same neighborhood in Superior, where 332 structures were destroyed. So it was an extraordinary devastation, and the fires really took off because of the winds and then the embers that started creating the blizzard and igniting homes. So we had a perfect set of conditions: the high winds, a lengthy drought, lots of dry grass. We had a lot more rain during the summer, so the grass grew up and was tall. And then the other issue is a lot of continuous human-made fuel, and that's homes being close together. A lot of experts report that when you have about a 40-mile-an-hour wind, fire can move about a football field a second, and that absolutely was happening, and faster, even faster in the Marshall Fire. So surviving homes in subdivisions that were destroyed had one common feature, and that was spacing. They were more distance from neighboring homes. Many of the homes that were in devastated subdivisions were only 10 to 20 feet apart. Housing developments create this continuous human-made fuel bed, and unfortunately the heat from one home could ignite the home next door, and it just created this catastrophic effect. The other issue is people in the suburbs are not necessarily thinking about creating defensible space, so there are a lot of leaf-filled gutters, bone-dry lawns, wood mulch beds, all sorts of conditions that allowed embers to take hold and create a catastrophic fire. So Colorado wildfires are now a year-round event. You know, we kind of used to think about wildfires happening in the spring, the summer, and more in the fall, but you know, anymore it's like it's all changed, and a lot of that is happening because of the conditions that are happening in the climate. A lot of reasons why this is now happening, and it's not just happening in the forest. We have 50% of Colorado residents that live in the WUI, the wildland urban interface. That doesn't include the suburb areas like Superior and Louisville. So, you know, we really need to expand that definition of people that could be affected by wildfire. We've had an extended period of drought. Denver is the driest it's been since 1872, and 1872 is when they first started recording moisture levels at any time. And this is a recent report. I just pulled this up today from the drought monitor for January 4th. Even with the snows that we have, you can see that Jefferson County and Boulder County is right in an extreme drought. And these high wind events coupled with the drought just create really dangerous conditions. The firefighters in our area often do moisture probes of the trees, and they said that the living trees are almost as dry as firewood right now because of the lack of moisture. So it's a very serious issue. And unfortunately, the National Wildfire Outlook, the one that just most recent prediction that from the National Interagency Fire Center is saying that we have a significant wildland fire potential. And they're predicting our drought conditions will continue, where our temperatures are going to be above normal, and we're not going to have as much precipitation. So it's a very extremely troubling indicators for what is to come, especially as things start to warm up in the spring. So how do you get prepared for living in a fire-prone ecosystem? And I'm using that term because a lot of people, again, think the wildfires are more in the forested areas, but things are changing. So it's an issue for everybody. Number one thing, and I know you guys are going to have a list of to-dos. There was a lot of people that were really shocked by what happened with the fire. And they commented that they didn't get notified, like my little sister. She goes, no one ever called me. No one ever did anything. And I said, were you signed up with Boulder County's emergency alert system? She goes, I don't know anything about that. So everybody should get on Boulder County's emergency alert system that's called Everbridge. It's very easy to get on. You just go to the Boulder County .org and you sign up, and you go to the Everbridge emergency alert and sign up. It's totally free. That's the way you will be notified. This works for floods, fires, a whole bunch of things, but you have to sign up to get the notification. So it's one thing I'd highly recommend everybody do. The second thing is you can create defensible space and harden your home in every area. You know, wooden fences. Some of the homes that were taken had wooden fences that led right up to the home, so that let the fire, you know, really took the home. That way, wood mulch near a foundation is really bad because embers. It's an ember magnet, and the general rule is you shouldn't have anything combustible 0 to 5 feet around the foundation of your home. Leaves and gutters are also ember magnets. A lot of issues about that. But in Boulder County, there's an incredible resource that's available to everybody, and that is called, that is called Wildfire Partners. And Wildfire Partners is an organization that provides free home assessments for people in your area. And I would highly recommend you consider that. It's done by experts. They can come and look at your home and tell you, you know, things that you could do to be more prepared for any fire. The third step is to check your insurance and inventory your home. In the fires that happened 2 years ago, they found that 70% of people that had insurance had inadequate insurance to cover them for a situation with potential for wildfire. So that's a big issue. So you should do an insurance check with your agent or broker. You find out if your policy is adequate in the case of a total loss and what causes of loss are not covered, because sometimes you can get some really bad surprises. The second thing is to do a home inventory. There's a great app that is free that is called Encircle that you can download and document, just walk around your home and inventory the things in your home. So that's another great resource that is available to be able to do a home inventory, because it's just, when you lose your home, it's so hard to remember all of the extraordinarily important things that you want to have. Now, the fourth step is you need to think about preparing for evacuation. And again, this is like for my little sister, she just blanked. When they had to evacuate, it was so hard to even think, because there's so much fear and adrenaline and panic going on. So when we're trying to teach people how to prepare for wildfire, we're always talking about, what do you need to get in 15 minutes? What do you need to remember in 15 minutes? Up in the foothills area where I live, we try to teach people to put all their important documents in one place, like your passports, birth certificates, insurance, property titles, anything you need to get in one location so that you could grab and go. And then also try to keep a copy with somebody else on a thumb drive or in some other manner, so that you have access to it in case you might lose your home. But that 15-minute of practice, it's really important to think about what would you need to do in 15 minutes to get out, if you have that kind of time. So we started this project because we know our communities are at risk, and we wanted, as a Rotary Club, to change that. And our mission was to increase wildfire awareness and preparedness and help make residents safer from the threat of wildfire. And we started in 2019 with this project. And Cassidy explained that to you. This has been a really incredible collaboration on my various teams. I have Rotarians and community advocates and community leaders. We partner very closely with our local fire departments. In fact, several of the fire department members are members of our teams. We engage our local realtors, CSU Extension, Colorado State Forest Service, everybody that can give us expert advice so that we are being consistent in everything that we say. And we can provide the very best data possible. So we have two different teams, an educational team and a safety team. The educational team's goal is to get information out to the community members so they can prepare for wildfire. Our safety team is focused on improving community safety and acting as advocates in our county and greater locations to talk about emergency routes and evacuation preparation and other things. So we very, very busy with that team. Our educational team, since we got going, we put together a website, a Facebook page, a number of educational brochures. We redid a fire truck and created a rolling educational laboratory, and I'll talk about that in a second. There's a National Wildfire Preparedness Day, and we hosted the very first one with our fire departments, where we got a lot of the community to come out and to get educated. And we have worked up so that all of our Rotary Wildfire Ready resources are used by our local fire departments. So we're getting a very consistent message out there. This is our Rotary Wildfire Ready website. This website is really, it was started because the state of Colorado doesn't have anything like this. Any information for residents about how you can get prepared for wildfire. And we really wanted to include all the key information people needed. There's a lot of information in here that we really tried to distill down to what people need to do to get ready, how they can get notified. We included many, many different county signups so people can go directly and just sign up for their emergency notifications. So it's a very, very good resource, and we're always keeping it up to date as much as possible. And again, working with experts, wildfire experts, to make sure we have the best information as possible. Another piece that we created was our brochures and materials. And we launched these in February of 2021. We wrote them. We have somebody on our in Evergreen Rotary. It's a great creative designer. So all of these are all custom created. We've had almost 50,000 views of our digital brochures. 5 local fire departments are using these tools, and we're trying to get more fire departments to use them. But this is all materials that's available, that's easy to share in newsletters and social and other things. And we're really trying to create tools that can get out in the community so people can learn more about what they need to do to get prepared. We also created this fire truck. It was just a plain old yellow fire truck that was built in 1972 that somebody donated to us. So we did this conversion of the fire truck. And here's a quick video so you can kind of see it in action. We've had the fire truck at a whole bunch of community events in our foothills area. And it really has been a great resource for engaging the community. We found that people that come to the fire truck generally spend about 15 minutes learning more. They really want to learn more about things they can do. So it's been really, really helpful. Then we have our safety team, and we've been talking to a lot of county and state leaders, the emergency management heads for Jeffco and Larimer County. Larimer County is one of the best practice for emergency management, as is Boulder County. So really great kind of best practice information. Talk to the Colorado Department of Homeland Security and their FEMA coordinators, local fire chiefs, roads and bridges engineers, Colorado Division of Fire Protection and Control. So we're always trying to find out who are the knowledgeable influencers that we need to tap into as community members to understand, what we can do to pull the community together to help make things safer. Another thing that we did is we did investigation of early warning infrared and digital cameras. I'm really, really delighted that we've been partnering with some of our local energy companies up here to install digital cameras that can be recording at night and during the day to provide an early warning system in case of fires. And so a number of them are being installed, and we've been working to help facilitate a grant for 60 more cameras in the Rocky Mountain area. So we're working on that's like another project. And then we're looking really closely at non-survivable and high congestion evacuation routes that we have. Also, that's a real problem in the mountain communities to figure out what we can do to create standards for mitigation guidelines and see what we can do for grants. There's a lot of work going on in both teams. Generally, what's been happening because of the fire truck, these different teams that we have different community members on, is we have grown our Rotary membership substantially this past year. I think it's up 25% in our club. And a lot of the people that have joined, have joined because of the work that we're doing on this wildfire preparedness project. So, the idea is that this affects all of us in Colorado. Wildfires do. And, Boulder certainly experienced that. And this actually is relevant for all of the Western United States. So really trying to create best practice information that we can share as much as possible to help create engagements. So I'd like to open this up for questions, and I'm also going to put up on the slide some really great Boulder County resources for the Marshall Fire, and just kind of leave that up if there's any Q&A that I might be able to answer any questions for.
Thank you, Cynthia. Before we get to Q&A, I'd like to have another speaker come up, and we're going to talk a little bit about the response efforts that have happened, as opposed to some of the things we can do for future incidents. So I'd like to introduce Lisa Holmes-Sweeney. She's the Vice President of Community Programs for the YMCA of Northern Colorado. She's going to talk to us a little bit about what they've been doing at the YMCA to help families over the last week. I'm not sure if anybody knows, Chris had offered to do this. Chris has actually come down with COVID after having all these families in his facility. So keep him in your thoughts right now too, but I'd like to have Lisa come up and talk a little bit about what the Y has been doing over the last week.
I guess I can go maskless. Thank you for having me today. Sorry you don't get Chris today, but he is doing much better. So the Y has stepped up. We got the call Thursday, early afternoon, when the evacuation started, and as you just saw, and I'm so glad I got to be here because that was so educational, that was phenomenal. But the Y got that call very quickly on Thursday. Things happened very quickly. We got the call from Chris as the senior staff team that we were going to be a Red Cross shelter, and so if you know Chris, if you've met him, he's phenomenal at organizing people very quickly and sparking that mobility within our team. So we jumped in very quick, just as we did when the pandemic hit and we had to transform our buildings into emergency childcare and remote learning. We took that action again very quickly, started shutting down our Arapahoe YMCA to members, and we moved our childcare over to our Mapleton Center very quickly so that we could start receiving evacuees. On Thursday, we had probably about 50 staff coming and going, helping out. Board members came in, and we served anywhere from 300 to 400 evacuees that evening that came in. We had a lot of seniors that came in. We had a lot of families that came in. We did have folks that came in that disclosed they were COVID positive. That was a whole new experience of how to serve those families. So we shut off our hockey locker rooms, and those became some restricted areas that those folks could be safe in during that time. We had a lot, probably 10 to 12 individuals that came in that needed significant medical support, whether it was mental health support or physical care needs. So they came in with their caregivers. If you've been to our facility, we have Head Start classrooms, and those became those physical care facilities that gave a lot of privacy and quiet spaces for those individuals. So we really transformed our entire building. Our fitness floor became a cot area for the Red Cross to set up. And the Red Cross came in a couple hours after we got open and running. They were able to set up cots, organize meals, as well as the Salvation Army. Excel Energy came in. They started passing out space heaters because even when people got to go back into their homes that next day, they didn't have gas. So worried about pipes freezing or keeping their families warm. So those space heaters, over 1,000, were given out at our location. And we routed our traffic so they could come right around after they got their space heaters, and they picked up toiletries and food. We had hot meals available, pet supplies, and a lot of bottled water. Again, with Chris's leadership, we started to run out of bottled water. He put out an all call to our board members, and that got retweeted so quickly. We still have piles and piles of bottled water, but we still have people coming in every few minutes to pick up water because they need that in their homes. Hundreds of volunteers and folks coming in from the community to bring donations. So we've had a lot of those things come in. In-N-Out Burger, the Denver Nuggets sent food and meals. We had Ghost Pizza, tons of local businesses that came in, and I've never been through an experience like this, And I don't live right in that community. I live a little north in Longmont. It was the most humbling thing I've ever been through to see this community come through. I'm going to share one little quick story because I think it was the heart of all of it, and I had to step away this moment. We were there Thursday night. We worked into 24-hour shifts. We were coming in. So I left around 4 in the morning Thursday night, went home, took a shower, got myself back together, went back to the Y, and then the snow started. And on Friday, we had shut down donations. Our hallways were packed. Our ice lobby was packed. We could not take anything more. But on Friday evening, when the snow was pounding down, it was freezing out, we had a couple come in, and they were probably in their late 70s. And she knits blankets and donates to hospitals. And she had this little stockpile, probably 20 blankets. And they came in that weather, and they brought these little tote bags of their little blankets, a couple cans of cat food, and their little dental packs that you get when you go for your cleaning with your sample-sized toothpaste and things. And even though we had shut down donations, that was a moment when those individuals just wanted to get back to their community. And we saw that continuous outpouring. Sorry, I still get choked up. This is crazy. But we saw families that come to our child care and members that lost their homes. And so we got to see that firsthand, that came in and they just needed help. We had, again, over 300 with us on Thursday evening. That number's dwindled. We only have a couple there now. But we were able to be there when they got that call from the sheriff's department to say their house was gone. We were able to bring in mental health professionals to service those families. Other support services that came in. And so, but it's this community and it's all of these other agencies that came together to be able to do this. And so no one agency can do it together. I'm super proud to be a part of Chris's team and be at the Y to do this, but without everybody else we couldn't. We are providing emergency child care for the Disaster Assistance Center from 9 in the morning till 7 p.m. in the evening now, 7 days a week. So the Y has staff going over to do that, and that allows families to meet with insurance adjusters or with the sheriff's department or whoever they need to, while we'll take care of your 2-year-old, because it's a little hard to have those meetings with your 2-year-olds running around. So we're there 24/7 right now, still serving people whatever they need. Everybody asks what do we need and what's the long-term piece right now. We know that you all know Boulder County is very, very tight on the housing market, and trying to place 1,000 families right now is going to be very tricky. We provide services all the way up through the Northern Front Range, and so we are already reaching out to those families to let them know if they are displaced outside of Boulder County and they need to go north, we're there for child care or other services. We have a lot of mental health support we can offer out as well. So the Y is there to provide things. Tremendous impact coming up on financial assistance. We know that. We've been coming off of COVID, and we're still in COVID, where we've been providing financial assistance to families throughout Boulder in the Front Range, and we know that's going to be a rolling impact. This is going to be very long term, but those are some of the efforts that we've done, and we're just going to continue to be there and support in any way we can.
Yeah, if we can open it up to Q&A now, I think now would be a good time for that.
Actually, I don't have a question. Cindy, who was on before, gave us all the rundown of things to do, and that's extremely helpful. We lived in the foothills and were evacuated 4 times, 3 times for fire, 1 time for the flood. And a couple of things. One of them, she said about getting set up to make sure you get notified, that you get an alert on your phone. That is so important. That is so unbelievably helpful. And the other thing she mentioned was photographing the things in your house. Our insurance agent was very kind and said, remember, some of the most valuable things in your house are in drawers and cupboards and closets. So when you go through your house, don't just photograph the room, and the furniture, but open all the drawers and photograph everything in there if you really want your insurance company to be able to reimburse you. Thanks.
You mentioned the agencies that combine. In terms of collaboration, does emergency management team take the lead? And can you mention some of you mentioned the Red Cross and the variety of services. Does the collaboration really emerge from the emergency management team?
It does. Boulder County has had representatives from the Office of Emergency Management. We gave them office space in the Y. They've been there 24 hours a day. Sheriff's Department has been there. Joe Pelly's been there multiple times. So they have been guiding that and taking the lead. But there's been a lot of collaborative, very quick conversations as new situations have arisen. And that we've needed to react to. But yes, they have really taken the lead on it. They've met with our team routinely to give us updates so that we can filter that down.
We have a question online. Nancy, would you like to unmute yourself? Nancy Chinwagner.
Thanks, Vanessa. And thank you for the both of you informing us of what's going on in this, for our community, and really informing us. I was involved with the 2013 flood. And so my question is to you is, were there any, I mean, I think we have it, but wondering if it's working or have you tested it, was the alert system that goes out. Usually there's sound speakers everywhere, all along town in the Front Range. And I'm wondering if, and I know it wasn't enough time for the fires because it was just minutes, people had to, react. But is that something that people would, in the community, in the city, work on? To give some kind of notification alert.
There is an alert system that's the Amber Alert system that is a vehicle that can be used to get notifications out. There's a lot of debate in counties about whether or not to use that with floods or fires. So it's really up to the emergency managers in every county to decide if that's an option, because that would go out to every single phone versus, if you have to sign up with Everbridge, you have to sign up to get a notification. So that's an issue. And, I have to say that anytime you have a wildfire, the next thing you have to be worried about is flooding, and it may not be the same situation with a grass fire, but those two things go hand in hand. So it's important for figuring out the vehicles to get people notified. But I can't speak to sirens in Boulder because I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, that's what was more interested in the sirens. That because you kind of listen to those when you listen to sirens just as much as you move out of the way when an ambulance was coming down the block. I mean, you just know it, and then you would know something's going on someplace, and then you would turn on your radio or whatever. Amber, I'm always thinking of kidnapping of children and things like that, and so. But I think signing up for your Everbridge is awesome. I just was wondering about the regular alert system that they have the speakers everywhere. Because you hear them tested, so that's why I was asking. Thank you.
Cindy and Lisa, thank you so much. And thank you for the wise work. I have a question for Cindy. You work with other Rotaries for Rotary Wildfire Ready. Can you tell us a little bit about that partnership?
Yeah, so part of the collaboration, we partner with the Mountain Foothills Rotary Club and the Conifer Rotary Club. And I've done presentations for a number of Rotary clubs across the state of Colorado. And we have a number of their members that are part of our teams. People that really get passionate about working on different projects get involved. So there are a lot of project assignments, committee assignments where multiple clubs and multiple community leaders are participating. So we do a lot of work, and and would love to be able to partner, more with Boulder Rotary and others, because this word needs to get out to everybody. And it's a big community project that we need to get better mobilization on it, because generally we're not prepared. Our residents are not prepared at all for situations like this. And it's a significant life safety issue. And, part of our charter is to help save lives. And this is one of those big projects that could help to do that.
My question is for Lisa. I know that many of us are trying to identify ways to help out in the community. It's been actually quite difficult to find ways to give back right now. Most places have stopped accepting donations, as you mentioned, the Y. Precious Child is in the same boat. There are a number of charities that, their cupboards are full, so to speak. But many of us are, I think, itching for a way to feel community and give back and help those who have been affected. I'm curious whether you're aware of any opportunities for volunteering or other things to sort of help our neighbors.
We are in that same boat. We had ARC come in and remove, if you've ever been to the Y, we have this massive ice lobby, and it was filled probably 6 feet high with blankets and towels and clothing and high chairs, strollers, wheelchairs, anything that people could donate. And we partnered with ARC to have them come and take those items over. We had a couple groups from CU. We had the Boy Scouts come in, different groups that helped us sort and bag and load all of those things. And then the fire victims received shopping cards for free to go shop for any of those things they needed ARC. So we are out of space to be able to store all of those things right now with our operation, and I know other places are having the same thing. What we're hearing from Boulder Emergency Management is that financial donations, and I think sometimes people think that's not as feel-good, you're not giving a material item, but truly that's something that's going to support the efforts long-term. The fires, it's going to take years for some families to rebuild and to find a place to resettle in this community, and so I think financial donations go the farthest right now. If you are interested in the why with volunteering, we have lots of volunteers, and we know this is a long-term thing. When we supported families from the floods, we provided sports and opportunities and membership opportunities for families that were displaced that need to come back together. We know that our kids in our school programs, this trauma is going to hit. We're even hearing from some of the mental health consultants that it's going to hit in a couple months. That it's right now, it's kind of fresh and new, but when it's really going to hit is when the kids realize they're not going to the same school as their best friends anymore, because if they got displaced and they found housing in Firestone or in Fort Collins, they're not going to be right here close to their friends, or their friends got displaced. So I think we're going to see those traumas come around. We will be continuing to do a lot of mental health services and opportunities for families to come in and connect. So watch for those opportunities coming up. Bringing kids in for youth activities, whether it's putting them on a pool or on a basketball court, that can be very healing. Our summer camp programs coming up will be offering a lot of financial assistance, because families are going to have to rebuild, and that takes a lot of weight on them financially. So we'll be providing a lot of that. So there will be more opportunities, and I get it. Everybody feels so desperate to donate. And we were so inundated in the first few days. And we know with most tragedies that happen like this, it trickles down, and then the volunteers are less and less. So keep watching for opportunities, or reach out in the next month or 2 months or even 6 months on how we can come back and revisit some of the needs. I think that's huge. I think it's really important to not let this fade away, and let people know that you're there months from now when it gets a little quiet.
Why was it called the Marshall Fire, and what is the latest on what caused it? Either person that has any idea on that?
I don't know why it's called the Marshall Fire. I know that it's under investigation right now. There's was originally thought to be a power line down. That now is not the case. So it's suspected that it was human caused, whether, and hopefully accidentally, but I think it's all under investigation right now, so they haven't publicly stated what exactly happened.
And there is a lot of attention. Today, the President and First Lady are coming to tour the burn area. They're en route at this time. They're going to be touring at the DAC this afternoon, as well as at the Louisville Rec Center. So they're coming in. I can tell you, Joe Nagoose has been at the Y. He was there some late hours with us, meeting with fire evacuees. Governor Polis was there meeting with evacuees. So this is getting a lot of attention, and I think it needs to. It's pretty unprecedented that it happened in a community this tight-knit and in a neighborhood. So it's great that it is drawing some national attention. I think it's going to, put a lot of thoughts in people's heads of how they can be proactive. I know from Cindy's presentation, I'm ready to go home and remove the mulch from around my house and clean my gutters. I wouldn't have thought of those things. I think we need to educate people more.
So we want to thank these excellent speakers who have come to our club at a very sad time, but a time that is important because our consciousness is focused on the danger and the risk, and they're helping us to understand it. Lisa, the Y is a treasured part of our community, and it's just expected that you would do incredible things like you've done. So thank you. And Cindy, our PPE committee has tracked the evolution of our understanding of fires for about 5-6 years now. And in the beginning, when someone would speak to us, there's something in the mountains. And if you live in a forest in the mountains, you should start being prepared and practice mitigation. Then the next time, what happened was Boulder is actually in the WUI. And West Boulder and Evergreen, for Cindy, are prime candidates for burning. And that got our attention. We had no idea through any of these talks that a fire would occur east of Boulder on the plains, and that it would occur at the end of December. So we have a real issue here, and I think I'd advocate for our club collaborating with Cindy and Evergreen Club. They have a fine club over there, to do something about this challenge, to take it on, and not go into denial again or ignorance. We have no more excuses about that. So thank you, Lisa and Cindy, for speaking to our club. And in your honor, we have 100 doses of polio vaccine for our Polio Plus campaign. And as we all know, we're very close to success. So thank you so much.